For centuries, historical gender imbalances have caused women to be overlooked, especially in the realm of art. Throughout art history, male art historians have highlighted the numerous works of male art masters. A woman's place was believed to be in the home with the family, docile and dedicated to either her father or husband, and most importantly, God. Because of the lack of access to education or apprenticeship for most women, they were at a disadvantage in becoming learned artists. It was only through exceptional circumstance that they became artists with mastery to match their male counterparts. If a woman was lucky enough, she became a nun and learned to paint in a monastery. If she was born into a noble family, she had access to exceptional education, including an education in painting. Further, if she was born into a family of artists, she could learn artistic skill through relatives. Even then, some of the most prolific and talented female artists' history and works have fallen by the wayside and into obscurity. If they were not depicted as noble or saintly, or later in art history, objectified and fetishized, splayed across a canvas in suggestive poses, sometimes devoid of clothing, they were often lost to art history. Instead of being accepted as creators of art, women became the subject of the male gaze, muses for male artists' work, their shapes and forms twisted and turned into society's ideal depiction of a woman, beautiful, sensual, delicate, all of which women are. However, those are not the only attributes of a woman. Regardless of these social constructs that discouraged women from working in the arts, women have remained leading figures in every art movement from the Renaissance to contemporary art. Countless trailblazing women in the arts have worked to subvert social norms and become more than what they'd been reduced to on a canvas. In what we can surely now recognize as roots in the feminist art movement, female artists use self-portraiture to create their own identities, break stereotypes, and topple the obstacles that stood between them and their success as renowned artists. In this video, we will examine the self-portraits of 3 groundbreaking women that changed the art world forever. Artemisia Gentileschi's self-portrait as the allegory of painting, Elizabeth Vigée Lebrun's self-portrait with straw hat, and Frida Kahlo's self-portrait with thorn necklace and hummingbird. Despite suffering a troubling start to her adulthood after being raped and having her reputation damaged, Italian-born artist Artemisia Gentileschi's memory is salvaged by her triumphant success as one of the most celebrated artists of the Baroque period. Many of her works offer a woman's perspective on stories in a world and time that was defined by a male narrative. Her work often depicts empowering images of biblical and mythological heroines, and it's believed that her image can be seen throughout such works. As the child of Orazio Gentileschi, a well-known painter for European royals and one of the most successful followers of Caravaggio, Artemisia Gentileschi also became Caravaggio's only successful female follower. This is exhibited in her works, demonstrated by her mastery of chiaroscuro, which she employed to add drama to her beautiful Baroque pieces. These 2 themes are executed brilliantly in her 1638 self-portrait as the allegory of painting. In this piece, she depicts herself as the personification of painting. This depiction is believed to be based on Cesare Ripa's description of the personification of painting as featured in his Iconologia, which suggests painting is a woman draped in garments of changing colors, representative of the artist's skills, disheveled hair, exemplary of the frenzied artistic temperament, and adorned with a gold chain with a mask for a pendant that represents imitation. In one piece, she has painted both a self-portrait and personified herself as the epitome of painting. Because the allegory of painting is believed to be a woman, a man could not possibly accomplish what Gentileschi has. While critics have suggested that Gentileschi is egotistical for representing herself in such a light, there is nothing egotistical about having represented herself exactly as she was, an exceptionally strong, remarkably skilled artist. What's more is during a time when paintings of women were sometimes obscene, overtly provocative, and definitely demeaning, in true feminist form, Gentileschi found a way to idealize herself and women in an empowering light. We see this same theme, a woman as an artist, exhibited in Elizabeth Vigée Lebrun's self-portrait with straw hat. Hailing from humble beginnings as the daughter of a hairdresser and a guild painter, by the age of 17, Elizabeth Vigée Lebrun was on her way to becoming one of Europe's most celebrated portraitists in art history, and continued to set her sights for the success of her career extremely high. She was a determined, hard-working woman, and her 1782 self-portrait with straw hat was a representation of her person as a truly respectable, fashionable artist. It also acted as an exhibition of her elite skills, earning her the attention of French aristocrats and royals, including Marie Antoinette, who commissioned several portraits painted by her and for whom she had become a court painter. Heavily inspired by Peter Paul Rubens' portrait of Susanna London, Vigée Lebrun's self-portrait was meant to emulate Rubens' mastery and succeeded at exemplifying her own talents. In true Rococo fashion, she depicted herself in soft pastel pink and blue colors, and the glowing light of what is presumably the sun illuminates her skin. The clothing she adorns in the portrait are considered to be at the height of fashion for French aristocrats, and she succeeded admirably at using her skills to create the lavish, lustrous textures worn by France's rich and famous. While she has painted herself in a clearly feminine light, she displays her artist tools proudly, and the colors on the palette complement the soft pastels in her clothing and the sky behind her. Her open-handed gesture and her slightly parted lips suggest that she is engaged in conversation, which speaks to an intellectual confidence that most women were presumed to be devoid of. Such a portrait was quite risque at the time, when men continued to dominate the art sphere, but here she has presented herself exactly the way she has chosen, undefined by class, sex, age, and experience. She appears as a lady of the court, and more importantly, as a professional, intellectual artist. In Frida Kahlo's self-portrait with thorn necklace and hummingbird, we see the same unashamed representation of the self. Frida Kahlo is heralded as the icon for female creativity. Born in Mexico and having lived a tumultuous life, suffering a tragic accident that left her bedridden for several months, she was encouraged by her father to use painting to cope. She was greatly influenced by her Mexican culture, and she continued to develop her skills, eventually capturing the attention of another artist who soon became her husband, Diego Rivera. Together, they became social activists. Both had many affairs, and Kahlo seemed unable to escape the grasp of tragedy. However, it never stopped her from persevering in the face of adversity. For Kahlo, her numerous self-portraits were a reflection of her own reality at any given time in her life. Kahlo's paintings work to capture not only the idealized physical appearance of a person, but also to unsettle the relationship between a physical body and the ideas about the self. Her artworks are brimming with symbolic representations of her emotional, mental, and even physical states. Self-Portrait with Thorn Necklace and Hummingbird was painted shortly following her divorce from Diego Rivera, when she found that he'd had an affair with her younger sister. This piece is incredibly balanced in composition, with Kahlo's face as the focal point, and depicts her dressed in white, said to symbolize her martyrdom, backed by lush green leaves. A thorn necklace, like Jesus' crown of thorns, pulled so tight around her neck that blood is drawn, by a black monkey on her shoulder, said to be a symbol of the devil. On her other shoulder, a black cat is perched, back arched, which is known as a symbol of bad luck. At the base of her neck is the black hummingbird, and in her hair butterflies, which are believed to be representative of Christ's resurrection. In combining the symbols, it is believed that Kahlo has likened herself to Christ, ever enduring life's pain, the devil drawing every bit of blood from her that he can. While this can be interpreted as blasphemous and egotistical, as is suggested of Gentileschi's self-portrait, it is a genuine, raw representation of Kahlo's anguish. Kahlo has made, once again, the choice to depict herself in her most crude, vulnerable form. This is truly the way she sees herself in this moment, but as we see in the butterflies, it seems she knows she will be empowered and rise once again, regardless of the pain she suffers. Self-portraiture remains one of the most effective methods of establishing personal identity as an artist. For female artists, the popularity of self-portraiture has presented an opportunity to tell their own individual story and present themselves to the public their own way. In a true act of feminism and female empowerment, female artists like Gentileschi, Vigée Lebrun, and Kahlo have accomplished just that through the creation of their own groundbreaking self-portraits, truly representative of who they are as complex women, artists, and humans in the art world and beyond.